All right, so first thing, a note from last week, I was able to get my MAMP stack set up properly and working and accessing my local host, obviously, which helps make this week run smoothly. So thanks for your feedback about putting the folders properly. So here I have my program running. I'm just going to refresh it so you can see it succeed. I have my IP address. I have the geolocation information that was requested for the assignment. I have a Google Map set up. I decided to go with highlighting of the area rather than a pin. I feel like pins are reserved for certain places. So if I wanted Wegmans in Columbia, Maryland, or, Sky Zone Trampoline Park, I think that would be a pin. I kind of liked the way that the highlighting of the general area looked for. So this is all of Columbia, Maryland. And then down here, I just have little notes for me as the programmer that I was successfully connected to the database and that a new record was created successfully. So I made this request at 2:18. So if I come into my SQL table, I'll be able to see at 2:18 from Columbia, Maryland, there was a request. So that was me just now, and these have been me from testing. And then we'll go through the important parts of my code. So I have my index.php file. I have storing of all of these variables. So I have the information that we pull from IP API. We decode it, and then I store each individual piece as its own variable so that later on I can write those variables directly into a table and store each thing separately. I obviously have the HTML put to tell you your IP address, the geolocation information, and then the iframe for the Google Map. And then this is how I create a connection to my database. And then I have it tell me if there was an error, print out the error so I can fix it. And then if it was successful, it'll tell me success. And then same with the creation of the record, it'll tell me success or failure. And then I make sure to close the connection. And then here I just used placeholders for each of the values instead of concatenating each variable and then with a comma and then next variable and then with a comma, So here I just have all of the variables lined up, and it'll pull each placeholder in order to line up with what needs to be written into the table. Let's see. Where did we go? Here it is. All right, so that's my project working, my implementation, and my code. So a security issue that I thought of while I was working through this is that we're trusting what the API is sending back to us and passing it just raw into my SQL. So that would make me subject to SQL injection, which could, if they're malicious, they could drop all my tables, they could edit my tables, they could insert new things, they could put any type of SQL language into that API or what the API is sending me, and I'll just put it right into my table, and that could cause issues. To solve this, MySQL does have prepared statements and stored procedures that I could use to validate the information before putting it directly into my table. Issues that I had during implementation was figuring out my Google API key. I thought that it was going to bill me, but you get up to 200 requests or whatever. So that was kind of a little bit of thing that I had to do some more research about. Initially finding my IP address, I had turned to an external service to pull that because I was just getting one for localhost. But then that was just when I was testing my environment. But then whenever I got the IP API set up properly, I was able to just use their query variable, obviously, that stores the IP address. And then the last thing was that I tried to store JSON in a block in the table, which was, I just ended up breaking it up into different variables like city, state, zip, etc. And which I think is actually probably a cleaner way because it makes it searchable on like a city. And then two things that a company could use this for, if they're being maliciously attacked, you see a lot of traffic from Iran, Korea, something like that. Those attacks could render the tool inaccessible to other users because they're making so many calls constantly, and that could be malicious. But if you're storing the data, you'll be able to see that and mitigate it. But it could also be useful to like a business if you're seeing a lot of traffic from Columbia, Maryland, and you're trying, you have a store and you're seeing all this traffic shopping online from your website from Columbia, Maryland. It's potential that you could open a store in Columbia, Maryland, get more customers, and better your business. So yeah, this one went way better than last week, and I really enjoyed learning about it.